Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an airline pilot, and today we are going to fly the Cessna Caravan Pro by a black square and just flight once again. Now, we are sitting here in the St. Barths commuter livery available from flightsim.to, which is really a beautiful livery of this real-world aircraft stationed in St. Barths. Now we are going to do a quick commuter flight over to Saba, which is an island around 20 miles away. Very short runway over there, we're at about 500 meters and sitting right on a plateau. So if you do mess that up, you're gonna go a couple hundred feet down right into the water. Now, we also do have quite the exciting terrain over here at our departure airport in St. Bartholomew, with the runway ending just over here in that bay. Then we gotta do low altitude left turn out. So overall, beautiful scenery for today's flight, both for the departure as well as the arrival. But before we start any of that, let's have a very quick look into our flight plan. Now this is what it looks like, and you can see we got the chart centered on St. Martin over here, because that's obviously the large airport available in the area that also serves as our alternate. Leaving Saba, highest terrain 922, MSA of 1,500 in the area. We got 27 miles down to Saba. So, officially flying from France to the Netherlands, a couple thousand miles away from their main countries. Alright, I'd say we are just gonna go right into this one. So, let's start with the walk around. Our Grand Caravan is parked here for a little while, so we gotta remove those covers. Good look at the propeller blades, at the spinner. We can also turn that a little bit further in order to get that prop blade down here. So the nose wheel is looking good. Then we got the side of the plane, everything's fantastic. Weather radar port, pitot tube, landing lights, all looking good. De-icing boots also in good shape, so is the nav light. And up here everything's in good condition. So, looking at the left-hand tire, everything is good. Then we can move around to the back. We will need that passenger door here momentarily for when we start our boarding. And I tell you what, we gotta open those doors just in order to cool that cabin down a little bit. It's pretty hot outside here at 30 degrees. Alright, so down there everything is good, just like it should be. Over here as well, then we got to unlock our rudder, and everything else is fantastic. Okay, so quick look into the cargo pod, making sure nobody hit anything in there after we have parked the plane here for a little while. And that's indeed all looking good. And yeah, that thing could probably use a little new paint job inside. Okay, so that's all looking fantastic. Then the wheel is okay down here. Then let's have another look at that wing, which is all good. Nav light is good. De-icing boot is in a good shape. Our landing lights are. Stall warning located over here is good as well. And with that, we are done with the walk around. So let's go ahead and get inside. Load up our payload, and then we can start preparing our plane for the flight. So, looking into the weight and balance down here, got a full complement of passengers, and if you're wondering why there is higher weights on the right hand side than there is on the left hand side, well, that's because you got double seats on the right hand side there. I did get that question quite a bit after my first video on the airplane. Alright, so with that our airplane is loaded, then I'd say we can go outside and close those doors and then set up for our flight. So that one's closed, and then we can just go over to the passenger entry door up here and close that as well. Okay, so with that our passengers are all on board. Now let's go ahead and hurry so that we do not so that we don't cook our passengers here, since it's rather warm outside. Alright, doors are closed. I'm gonna open that storm window just to keep the temperatures in check for as good as we can. Okay, before starting engine checklist. Pre-flight inspection complete, passenger cabin doors unlocked, cabin doors latched, parking brake is set. Control lock removed, seat and seatbelt secured, switches all off. Then ignition switch, normal, circuit breakers, all in. Fuel selectors, on, oxygen pressure 1850 or greater, and oxygen itself is off. Ventilation and AC are all off. Bleed air off, cabin mixing air, flight push, emergency power lever normal, power lever... No, looks like I forgot to assign those. So let's quickly run over here and make sure that those are set. I'm just using my default Boeing profile here. Here we go. So power lever is set, prop lever full forward, condition lever cutoff, flaps up, fuel cutoff pushed in, firewall switch pushed in, battery on, annunciators tested and checked, fire detection and warning tested, flap lever up, and that's before starting engine checklist complete. So our guests are on board, let's go ahead and start up. Beacon light on, avionic 1 switch on, bus voltage 24 minimum, emergency power annunciator extinguished, propeller area clear. So fuel boost pump on, fuel pressure low annunciator off, fuel flow 0, and starter switch on. Okay, NG is rising. Looking for a minimum of 12%, but we will let it increase to max motoring. That's looking good. Fuel on. Checking for the ITT. Maximum of 1090 degrees for 2 seconds, but you can see it stayed much lower than that. That's perfect. Okay, so NG is at 52%. Starter switch off. Okay, then let's go ahead and just close that storm window and put the headset on. That's just nicer, isn't it? Alright, so generator switch. Reset, generator load. Checked. Battery charging current is negative, and fuel boost pump norm. So then let's go ahead and turn on all of those devices for air conditioning here. You can see 31 degrees inside, so definitely do want to cool that thing down. Alright, then let's continue with our checklist. So fuel boost pump annunciator is extinguished, weather radar is on off standby, avionics 2 switch on, nav lights as needed off, suction checked, remote compass slaved, and heading is checked. Okay, ventilation and defrost as required, radios check, and that's the before start checklist complete. So let's go ahead and start working our flight plan. We are going from Tango Foxtrot, Foxtrot Juliet, over here to Tango November Charlie Sierra. Okay, and that's it. So you can start aligning as well. Weather radar standby. Cruising altitude 1500. Transponder should be on 7000 standby. Elapsed timer up here is prepared. Monitoring COM 1 and COM 2. COM 2 to 1 to 1.5. Like that, and COM 1 can just stay where it is. I do not want any localizer frequencies active, but what we can instead switch active is the Juliana VOR. So let's just quickly bring that one up. So that's 113.0 St. Martin VOR. That's the name. So 13.0. On 1 and on 2. Okay, here we go. Easy. Now you go into nav mode, you go into flight plan mode, and that's it. GPS mode is selected anyway, but that stuff is up. QNH is 1013 according to the 100 feet elevation. No, I don't think so. That weather set correctly. Yeah, it is. Okay. Interesting. Well, we're at 0 elevation here, so I'm just gonna set my altimeters to that. Here we go. Okay, cool. So with that, all of our setup is completed, and we are ready to go. So, taxi light on, park and brake off, and off we go. Or at least we should, because I do think that it taxis a lot nicer when you put the chocks out. Okay, brake check is completed. And then we can taxi to the holding point of runway 12. Or is it 12? No, it's 10 over here. Well, roughly the same. There is only one runway, so there's no confusion here. Okay. Here we are. So the park and brake is set, and then we can do the run-up checklist, which is park and brake set, seats and seatbelts secured, flight control free and correct, standby alternator on, standby alternator load is 0, then generator switch trip, standby alternator load is there, generator load reset, and that's all back on the main generator. Alright, fuel boost pump normal, fuel switches, or fuel selectors both on, fuel quantity checked, fuel cutoff pushed in, trims 3 set, flaps 20 for the short field takeoff, power lever, here we go, 400 foot-pounds, suction is checked. Okay, inertial separator on, drop and rise observed, off and again checked. Voltage is a minimum of 24. Okay, then up to 1800 RPMs. I just love how the yoke moves in the airflow over there. Okay, so here's 1800 RPMs, governor test, checked, props go down to 1750, that looks good. And back to idle. Now we're going to test the anti-icing, not that we need it. So watch the generator load increase as I'm turning all of those on separately. Now de-icing boots, yeah, let's test them, why wouldn't we? Here we go, that's looking good. Okay, then autopilot works on the right side, works on the left side, and is off again. Okay, fasten seatbelt signs are coming on, then we got the weather radar on, strobe lights on, annunciators tested and considered. So, storm window is closed, cabin mixing air, flight push, condition lever, high idle, and park and brake release. And with that, we're ready to go. So, some path traffic, Fox Oscar, Sierra Bravo Sierra, line up and takeoff, runway 10, departing to the west. Okay, transponder is on, flaps are in 20. So with that, we're pretty much ready to go. Are you ready? Take off. Takeoff power set. .65 knots. Rotate. Okay, then we can start a shallow turn off to the left. No more than standard rate though. Alrighty, clear of all the terrain, let's start accelerating a bit. Flaps 10. Speed checked. Alright, shallow climb while accelerating. There's 90 knots, flaps up. And now things are getting easier. Flying around the island here, definitely not over it. And then we'll go in the gap between those two. So, 249 is the desired track. Here we go, that's set. I'm telling you, I would love to fly over all the boats and yachts over there, but we should have known that before takeoff, then we could have put some large stickers over our airplane's registration. That way, we'd rather be a little careful there. Okay, so rudder trim is in. Nice. So there's our destination. And then we are clear of the island over here. So let's set course. Let's start leveling off. 1500 is already our cruise level. And here we are. So we'll set course, and once we're completely established there, we are going to engage the autopilot for that short bit of the flight. Looks like we're looking at about 10 minutes flight time, maybe a little bit less once we have accelerated a bit more. Okay, so as we're flying faster, we need a bit less rudder trim. That's good. Then we can align that heading block, please. Make sure we are completely trimmed out. Like this. So, heading and I'm not supposed to be in VS. Supposed to level off at 1500. Okay, lovely. So, let's do the after takeoff and climb checklists. That's pitot heat as required off, ice protection off, prop lever, can already start reducing that. So, looking for 1750 RPMs. Like that, and the torque at 1600, like that. Alright, and ITT less than 740, and with that the en route climb checklist is complete. Cruise checklist, taxi and landing lights, I'm gonna keep them on, at least the landing lights as we're flying that low. Ice protection off, no smoking, seatbelt signs on, oxygen not required, inertial separator off, power lever 1600 to 1900, and set for cruise. And that's the cruise checklist complete. So, 7 minutes to go, and with that we are nicely up and in the air. And something I forgot to check on my review, but look at that, once the AC generator is available, the seatbelt signs are working as well over here. Great. Alright, so let's see, the temperature is 24 degrees, we're at 1500, so let's find that 1500 over 24, something over here, so we're looking at 160 knots true airspeed once again, kind of expected performance. Alright, so let's turn a couple degrees further left here. TNCS, direct, enter, execute, track 242, like that. I just want it up on the GPS, I'm not actually going to use it, I am going to use heading mode, because that way we can just head straight into the base rather than flying directly to the airport. I think that's definitely the easier option over here. Alright, so with that we're all set up for the cruise, and now we can start to prepare for the approach. So, Saba is a really interesting airport. We can start with a quick look into our Navigraph charts over here to see what we're up to. So let's go ahead and go on to the airport info page. So, longest runway, 396 meters, and apart from that, nothing interesting down here. Now, for the weather, we do have weather from the nearest available, TNCE, and that one gives us wind 108, slightly variable, 23 degrees, 1013. Now, let's go ahead and have a look into the charts. So, there is an on-off approach available over there. We're definitely not going to fly that, though. But what we do want to have a look at is the airport itself. So as you can see, 401 meters of runway over there, and we do have a slightly displayed threshold. So the landing run available for runway 12, which we're landing on, is 349 meters. That means pretty slow approach, and that also means that we are going to go like really slow on the final, with a bit of power on, so that we don't stall the airplane. Okay, caution, sudden drop-off at each runway end, wind shear potential when the wind is from the south, and high terrain south of the runway. Terrain slopes away from runway edge within strip to the north of the touchdown zone, runway 30, that's not interesting for us, and high terrain in strip. Okay, yeah, so that's pretty much all that we gotta know about this one here. In other words, it's gonna be interesting. What we should notice is that the winds are coming from the east and pretty much down the runway, but due to the plateau on which the airport is located, we are probably going to experience a little bit of turbulence on the short final there. I don't expect anything on the, let's say, normal final approach, but just prior to the runway threshold could possibly get a bit of turbulence there, which would normally be an argument to fly a bit faster, but today we just don't have that extra performance margin available so that we could do that. So therefore we are going to do a normal approach and landing out of that. Alright, so that much for our approach preparation. We're pretty heavy, but looking at the speed indicator, we can go down to 50 knots with flaps full, even though I am aiming for about 65-ish, so that we do have at least a bit of margin available, because I can tell you the Caravan doesn't behave very nice when you're using realistic turbulence in the sim, which I am, and then really entering some kinetic turbulence from, usually it's trees, but today it's going to be rocks. Alright. So, that much about our approach preparation. Apart from that, is there anything else that we need to talk about? No, don't really think so. So, for the approach, since we are flying an unpressurized aircraft, I do want to limit my rate of descent a bit to make it as nice as possible for our passengers' ears. That means, when we're about 2 minutes from the airport, I'm going to start to descend at 500 feet a minute. That should put us into a good position to start the approach. Okay, yeah, and that's about everything there is. So the airport's located in that plateau over here, so we are gonna start a right-hand turn by a couple degrees. Maybe a couple more, something like this. Should be good. Now, let's see. Landing on runway 1 something. This time I'm not gonna get it wrong. Runway 12, over here it is a 12. So landing down that direction, that means we are going to fly past the airport and then gonna come back, landing down here. And that should pretty much be it for our approach preparation. Now let's watch all those cliffs spawn over there. There is a nice bit of handcrafted models down there, which I do really appreciate. Alright, so field over there. Then let's go ahead and start the descent, and I think we can do all of that manually over here. So, autopilot off, descent checklist, pitot heat, not required, ice protection, not required, fasten seatbelt signs on, power lever set and prop lever reduce, or the other way around, prop lever set, power lever reduce, and that's the descent checklist complete. Let's do the before landing checklist as well already, so that it's out of the way. And that seats and seatbelts secured, fuel selectors on, oxygen off, landing lights on, inertial separator, yeah, I tell you what, might need it, on. Condition lever, high idle, prop lever, full forward. Flaps as required, autopilot disconnect, and that's the before landing checklist complete. Alright, there's our field. Let's maintain this altitude until we are a bit closer, and then we can start reducing our airspeed. So, idle power selected, flaps 10. There's the runway. Flaps 20. And flaps full. Alright. So, it would be lovely if we could actually see that runway. Just gotta get a little closer here before we start the final descent, just so that we have a good view on the runway. And there it is. Okay. Then let's definitely not get too fast here. Bit of turbulence. But that's all looking good. Then we can start slowing down. Power idle. Alright, and with that, welcome to Saba. Now that's what I call a lovely runway for this type of airplane. And as mentioned, if you don't slow it down within those 390 something meters, you're gonna go right down here. Not sure if you absolutely want to do that. Okay, and with that, here we are. Let's go ahead and taxi to the apron, and yeah, what can I say? That was an enjoyable one, wasn't it? You can see that immediately after takeoff I've already stepped on the brakes, the plane went a little left and right at that point. You can easily fix that by just going off the brakes for a short moment, and then your airplane is gonna come right back under control. Alright, why is all that nonsense spawning here? Okay, so after landing checklist, that's gonna be flaps up, pitot heat off, ice protection off, strobe lights off, taxi record light on, landing lights off, condition lever low idle, weather radar off, and inertial separator no longer required off after landing checklist complete. Alright, then we're gonna park right over here at spot number 3. And stop. Is that correct? No, probably a little bit further forward. Like here. Okay, beautiful. So, shutdown securing checklist, parking brake set, avionics switches, off, standby alternator, off, fuel boost pump, off, AC and heaters. All off, power lever has been in idle for a minute. And then propeller lever. feather, condition lever off. Okay, and with that we are running down. Now we are no longer in the US or on a US aircraft, so I'd say the prop is pretty much slow enough now. Let's go ahead, turn that beacon off, battery off, fuel switches off, and oxygen off, and inertial separator off. And that's the shutdown and securing checklist complete. Alright, headset off. And with that, here we are. So my friends, I do hope you enjoyed that one. As always, leave your feedback in the comments underneath the video. Let me know if you do like me to do some flights like these, or if you would rather see me flying the A340 into 4,000 meter runways. Up to you. We can definitely do both, but I do have to say from time to time this is really enjoyable, isn't it? So thank you very much for watching, everyone. As always, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, and if you really love what I'm doing on this channel, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you very much for watching, and then I'm really looking forward to seeing you all again right on the next one.